Alrighty, everybody. Again, I'm Bobby Narang, one of the co-founders here at OpenSense. I think we met each of you at the HubSpot Inbound conference, which was hosted here in San Francisco. I was just chatting with a colleague of mine today that I think Inbound belongs in Boston, and so we're excited for it to return back to the East Coast next year. But if we did meet you at Inbound, thanks for taking a minute to review OpenSense. We wanted to just take a few minutes today and just introduce you to OpenSense, but through the lens of, frankly, email signatures and, frankly, why they are important today. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and want to make sure that everything is shared the right way before I get started here. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Cool. So again, I'm Bobby, one of the co-founders here at OpenSense. We've been building this business for the past dozen or so years. Before we talk about email signatures, before we talk about what our company does, I first want to just chat a little bit about email. Email is obviously an important channel to marketers, but when we think about email, we're not thinking about the messages that look similar to the ones that you're seeing on my screen here. The ones that you're seeing on my screen look like emails that you would originate out of, let's say, HubSpot, Marketing Hub, or Marketo, or Pardot. Traditionally, when we've thought about email, we've been thinking about email marketing and the email marketing channel, which by all means is an effective channel for driving awareness and outcomes. Um, but that's not really where OpenSense butters its bread, if you will. We're really focused on everyday one-to-one email that are composed and sent by your employees, whether it's from Gmail, from Outlook, from HubSpot Sales Hub, Outreach, Salesloft, their mobile devices, you name it. And really, I think email is, when we think about it, we call it employee email. And I wanted to kind of contextualize the value of employee email in this framework that we've developed, which is known as the email value pyramid. And I think some of this will resonate, particularly in this new era. In fact, we probably need to modify this pyramid to include some of the more sort of AI, SDR, outreach type messaging. Um, but before I get to that, let's just start at the foundation. So, when we think about the pyramid, we're going from least specific to more specific. We're thinking about the least personalized to the most personalized. And at the very bottom is sort of that automated mass email that's coming out of your, again, HubSpot Marketing Hub, your Marketo, your newsletters, your email marketing campaigns, etc. Again, these are system emails essentially at the end of the day. Like they come out through Marketo's own mail infrastructure or HubSpot's own mail infrastructure. As consumers, we're getting these every single day, and often our inboxes are auto-categorizing them as marketing emails. So either we're not necessarily engaging with them as much, or we're kind of, you know, instantly deleting them. Similarly, if we move up the email value pyramid, the sales loft emails, the outreach emails, even HubSpot sequences to an extent, but more so now than ever, some of the automated SDR emails, these are so prevalent these days. We call them semi-handwritten because there's a little bit more personalization that's included, generally speaking. Like, you can be a little bit more nimble with these types of marketing campaigns. The difference from a technical standpoint is that these emails are often coming through the sender's own inbox. And so they have a little bit more of that personal feel to them. Um, I don't know about you, but particularly with some of these clearly AI originated emails, I'm kind of instant deleting them. Okay, like they are not even registering from an impression standpoint in my mind these days. At the very top, though, are what we would kind of consider to be the handwritten email. And when I say handwritten, obviously we don't write email with pen and paper. We write it, but we actually take the time to compose an email. And often we're sending them in the context of some type of business relationship, whether that's, you're a prospect of mine, or we're currently working on a deal together, or you're an existing customer, or you're a partner, or you're another vendor, or whatever. But these are emails that are composed and sent by employees on a day-to-day basis. Now, the big difference between this sort of top of the email value pyramid, these handwritten emails, and all the others is that there's an element of trust that's predicated and sort of the backdrop of these messages. Meaning, You're going to read my email if you and I have a relationship. Whether that's, I met you at inbound and I'm following up because you shared some interest, or we had a great demo yesterday, and so now I want to find out if there's any questions about the pricing, or hey, there's some real alignment with our offerings from a tech partnership standpoint, or whatever the case might be. And what I think is so important to realize, and maybe we do intuitively, but I just want to articulate it, is that, our brand isn't just our logo. Our brand is our people. When we interact with our market, we are in essence a reflection of the brand. We are the brand. Our interaction is the brand. And so when we talk about making every employee a brand builder, we're talking about leveraging those relationships to really kind of articulate, reinforce, and leverage our brand to drive the outcomes that we're looking for. And one of the ways that we're doing this is through employee email. And let me just provide some numbers here to give you some additional context. Every employee on average is sending about 40 emails a day. Annually, that comes out to roughly 10,000 emails a year. That means for every 100 employees, you're sending about a million emails a year. Now, we say 100 million, we say a million impressions here. In fact, we know that an email is opened on average between 2 and 3 times per send. Okay. So when you and I have a relationship, you're opening my email. Unlike those other messages we talked about that are kind of being instant deleted, the emails that your people are sending to others in prospect organization, customer organizations, partner organizations, or whatever, they're getting read, and they're getting read often, and they're giving you an opportunity to take advantage of. And that's where Open Sense comes into play. The two opportunities I want to highlight for you today are, number one, to ensure that you're guarding the brand. Now, if I'm a reflection of the brand, great. But I want to make sure that that reflection is a positive one. And that's going to happen through my day-to-day interaction with you, but it's also going to happen with how I'm presenting myself in the email that I'm sending. Because we all know those colleagues who, bless their heart, uh, kind of take the brand and make it their own, if you will. Meaning maybe they're including, that inspirational quote that Ben Franklin, mentioned back in um, colonial times, if you will. Um, or they're including a picture of their cat. Okay, cool. But is that really a reflection of our brand? Maybe not. So we're providing tooling to ensure that you can control that brand experience in every email for every employee, um, regardless of where they're sending it. The other side of this is leveraging those brand moments to turn into business outcomes with our ad campaign infrastructure, which I can't wait to show you here. So guard your brand, grow your funnel. These are two of the primary objectives that we're going to help you to capture with OpenSense. From a signature standpoint, again, standardization everywhere across all devices, all platforms. It doesn't matter if you send from Gmail or mobile device or Apple Mail or even HubSpot sequences. You're going to have the ability with OpenSense to create a unified brand experience for all messages, devices, platforms for all of your employees. And then from there, layer on those, we call them ad banners, campaigns. Some interesting metrics I think that are worth mentioning. We talked about every 100 employees sending about a million emails a year. Email being open between 2 and 3 times per send. When you embed content in a signature, believe it or not, between 4 and 7% of your recipients are going to click through on this content. We had a customer once, outreach. They have an annual event similar to Inbound, but on a smaller scale. They told us that up to 10% of their registrants for their Unleash conference were coming through this email signature channel. And I think this is actually really relevant and important today when we're just inundated with AI slop email in our inboxes. In-person events are really kind of rising to the top, and we think events is a phenomenal low-hanging fruit opportunity to leverage signatures for. But it doesn't need to stop there, whether it's asking for surveys, you know, with our HubSpot integration, if someone submits a great CSAT survey, maybe you want to ask them for a G2 review, for instance. With workflows, you could actually facilitate that with OpenSense pretty seamlessly. Other content, recruiting, you name it. I alluded to the HubSpot integration here a second ago, but with the data that you have for contacts, for companies, or whatever the case might be, That data in real time also has the ability to inform the right offer or banner to display to a prospect or a customer. So again, what you show to customers might be different than what you show to existing to prospects. And with OpenSense, we make that seamless to manage, highly scalable, and ultimately measurable as well. The same data that resides in your signatures, we've had tons of customers ask us to put that same data and make it available in the form of a digital business card. So a digital business card is a little bit more of a physical form of your email signature that you carry on around on your phone and just make it incredibly easy to exchange information when you're at those IRL events, kind of like, when you're at inbound or at lunch with a client or whatever the case might be. So I wanted to mention this and allude to it, and I'll show you a little bit under the hood in the platform, sort of how this can be managed as well. One of the most powerful aspects of OpenSense is that although it's a brand solution, it is not designed to just make your signatures look beautiful. They're not just going to look pretty. We're going to measure them as well. And this is one of the unique differentiators between OpenSense and frankly any other vendor in our space, is that we actually care about the details, about who's actually engaging, so that you can not just measure attribution, but also contribution to your outcomes. I'll show you what I mean by that today, but imagine a banner click for a webinar automatically being pushed to the activity history on a contact or a deal record in HubSpot. That's the extent to which OpenSense is going to be able to illuminate this channel, but then also facilitate the easy reporting of its effectiveness. For any of y'all who are operating businesses that are cross-border, that are international, you have a European footprint. One of the other things that I think makes OpenSense so unique is that we have an eye on compliance, meaning not every recipient is going to be opted into the same sort of marketing preferences, and not every jurisdiction really cares. But the ability to dynamically ensure that your content is not only relevant but aligned with the recipient's preferences is something that's built into OpenSense. It's a privacy by design feature. We're obviously orienting today around HubSpot because that's where we met you. But something to be aware of is we integrate everywhere. And whether that's for data to drive your targeting, whether that's for places to push engagement, whether it's where we can sync your employees' data from, uh, this list is not exhaustive. And often, if you have a unique platform, maybe it's an industry specific platform, we will often build integrations for our customers in order to meet their specific needs. And that's a reflection of being a Silicon Valley based tech company. We're constantly innovating and backing our solution, not only with what we think is best of breed technology, we'll speak a little bit to our service and support here as we continue. So that's like a 30,000-foot intro to OpenSense. I want to get you into the platform here now, just so you can actually see what this platform looks like. So here's the opensense.com website. By signing in, you're going to be able to have optionality around SSO options for any people here who have an eye on compliance and InfoSec. In addition to supporting SSO, we also support SAML 2.0 authentication. So if you're using an Okta, for instance, that's something where you can easily configure that to facilitate the login. Now, I've gone ahead and logged in here to the platform, and we have sort of this left panel navigation here. We're going to focus on a couple of areas today: the Signatures Designer Studio. We're going to touch on the marketing campaigns and performance tabs, and we'll quickly preview digital business cards. But for now, I'm starting in the Designer Studio. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click into this banner, and the signature, and as it loads, one of the things that I want to make really clear about OpenSense, excuse me, we're the only US-based vendor in our space, which in of itself might be relevant if you have a posture from an InfoSec standpoint. But more important is that we staff every single one of our customers with a dedicated account manager, a dedicated design resource, and a dedicated technical resource. Now, I want to touch on the design resource here for just a second because there are a number of solutions out there where you can pick a design out of the box and just reconfigure your logos and things like that. And those are great. And if that's all you're looking for from a brand engagement standpoint, they're cheaper too. Um, where OpenSense really elevates the experience is by providing that bespoke signature design process included with your engagement with us. So if you even have design inspiration, or maybe you have a PDF of something that looks really good, we're actually going to build that for you from scratch. And we do that to ensure that whether you are sending an email to someone who reads that on Outlook, or maybe some of your prospects and customers, bless their heart, still using AOL. We're actually QAing every signature before it goes live across 132 different email clients to ensure that what you see is in fact what you get. Those signatures will reside here within the Designer Studio, and obviously you can edit those yourself anytime. You have full control over that. But that is included as a part of your engagement. And again, if your needs are slightly more than basic, that will make sense for you to take advantage of. You're going to notice that we can standardize any field in a signature too. So it's not just the fields that exist in your directory. We have some customers who want to pull in their meeting links from HubSpot or Chili Piper or whatever the case might be. Maybe they want to have a field for pronouns or PTO dates. So there's a ton of flexibility here. And all of that's facilitated with conditional logic and formatting. And what that means is very simple, which is if a user doesn't have a mobile number, for instance, not only will this mobile number not appear, but this data will all shift up to prevent there from being any sort of weird formatting issues, etc. We also have this concept of a reply signature template, which is pretty cool. It kind of provides a lighter weight signature that will automatically apply on your replies and forwards. So when you think about sort of demonstrating the finesse of your brand and the capability of your brand, being able to in real time curate the experience throughout an email thread is pretty darn impressive. And that's totally optional, but a lot of our customers really love that capability. Now, I'm going to quickly toggle over to the marketing dropdown, and we're going to start in the campaign section here because I just want you to see what our campaign repository looks like. There's a couple of views here. Obviously, we have a summary view, which is quite valuable, I would say. It just allows us to kind of quickly glean, the banner, its creative, the dates that it's operating. Some of these have just started off today, so I'll show you something with a little bit more data. We can see 22 days remaining on this one. We can see the number of deliveries, the views, the clicks, etc. We also have a handy editorial calendar view. A lot of our customers love this because it is just the way that they are navigating other platforms. So I'll give this a second here to fire up as well. A lot of banners and rotations is taking just a bit longer to load than it typically would. Give it another 5 seconds here before I bail. But the long and short of this one is that you have the ability to click into the day of the month, see all of the banners that are active, how they're performing, which teams they're assigned to, etc. If I click into a banner, we'll actually see delivery view and click data. And then there's a concept that I like to refer to as the money data, which is essentially who is actually clicking on that banner. And this is a brand new banner that we're just launching for Halloween season. We can see our deliveries, views, and click data is very minuscule at this point. We can schedule this banner to run through the entire month, which is great because it's Halloween themed, and I don't want this Bewitched theme banner showing beyond Halloween. UTMs for attribution, which is great, but we're also interested in contribution. So I want to know exactly who's clicking on this. So I can see Brian sent this email, 9:52. This particular recipient clicked through. And the nice thing is that this data is automatically going to be captured in HubSpot as well. Within the app, we're going to enable you with tools that are going to allow you to optimize this channel. So I want to walk you through like a production example here. So I'm clicking into this tab called Performance. Whereas the data that I just showed you will allow you to see how a particular campaign contributed to your outcomes. The data I'm going to show you here allows you to optimize this channel to try to get more of those outcomes. Let me show you what I mean. So about 6 months or so ago, we launched a new UI. And in the days and weeks leading up to that launch, we wanted to promote that new UI in our email signatures and banners. And so, what I'm going to do here is I'm zooming out for a year to look at all of the banners that we've launched over the course of the last 12 months. And we're just getting aggregate data here. What I want to do now, though, is I want to actually update this to look at, I want to compare two banners that we were looking at, we were launching at the same time. It was the UI launch banner and the UI webinar banner. So this is kind of neat because what we're seeing here is like a comparative view, a summary view, if you will. You can see here both banners were running around the same time, April 22nd to roughly May 13 or May 14. This is a first look, a tour of the new OpenSense platform banner. It's got a very nice light blue aesthetic, much more aggressive aesthetic with this learn more, do more with our reimagined platform banner. Both were leading to the same web page, or excuse me, sign up page, etc. Similar numbers of deliveries, 752 for the black one, 806 for the blue one. You can see similar number of impressions, but we see a major discrepancy in clicks, 36 to 9. That's basically 4 to 1. And so we were able to actually glean really important data about performance in this channel for our audience directly through the portal here with just a couple of clicks. And going forward, we see a lot more banners that look like this one aesthetically than we do see looking like this one. And again, that's based on empirical data. This is production data. This is real OpenSense data. I thought this would be a really valuable thing to share with you since, again, this is where data-driven decision making becomes really quite achievable with OpenSense. The last thing I'm going to touch on really quickly, the Designer Studio for the business cards. So nice thing about the business cards, like I said, totally customizable. I mentioned to you earlier that this just becomes a really nice, simple way for you to exchange your contact information. I'm actually going to bring over my digital business card here for you to take a look at. Let's see if I can actually do this on our live demo right now. iPhone mirroring ended. Okay. Probably will need to follow up with that a little bit later. So bringing this all back to the original conversation, again, email is one of the most effective channels that we have for conveying and communicating our trust, leveraging our trust to drive business outcomes. With OpenSense, we have a platform that will, number one, ensure that you have that unified brand experience for all of your employees, all of their devices, all of their platforms, all of it's custom built to meet the specific brand vision that you have. From there, we're going to equip you with the tools to be able to activate banners and campaigns for different teams, different users, either based on sender or based on recipient data. So like customer versus prospect, for instance. We're going to measure all of that data and we're going to instantly be able to write it back to the places that matter to you. So for instance, before I forget, I'm going to click over to my contact record here in HubSpot. And you can see here that there is native OpenSense data related to banner clicks. And this can be customized as needed. And it can also be used to trigger workflows to drive those outcomes, like for instance, notify an SDR to pick up the phone and call. We're US based. We care deeply about developing the best technology in the space, but also matching it with what we believe to be world-class service and support. So with that said, I'd like to just quickly wrap up. Again, I'm Bobby Narang. I'm one of the co-founders of OpenSense. Y'all have been a great audience today. I may take just a couple minutes for some questions if there are any. Feel free to throw them into chat. Are there any questions that I can answer for any of y'all that are in attendance today? Pricing, great question. Pricing, starts at $500 a month or 6,000 annually. We have 3 tiers of service depending on what you're looking for. The signatures tier is just signature standardization, so just that uh, sort of above the banner portion. So beautiful signatures on all devices. Pipeline tier is when we activate those banner campaigns. And then basically you have the ability to target them, rotate them, A/B test them, and measure them down to an individual recipient. Complete tier is when we integrate with HubSpot. That includes Sales Hub, Marketing Hub, Outreach, Sales Loft, you name it. So we're looking at roughly 6K annually as a minimum, but we're happy to extrapolate on that further on an individual one-on-one demo. Biggest differences between OpenSense and YStamp. YStamp is a great solution. I think, again, I think about things as what are your needs? And if you view your needs as very basic, then solutions like YStamp are going to be a great option. If your needs are slightly more than basic, OpenSense is going to be a really good solution. A common example that I've heard recently is, let's say you have a sales team and a customer support team. You might want a banner for your sales team. You might want a different banner for your customer support team. My understanding is that that's incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to do with YStamp. Whereas with OpenSense, that's a breeze. Another example, again, this is just what are your needs? Does it matter to you, Manish, to know that, like if I'm emailing 3 people, does it matter to know that person 1 is the one that clicked versus person 2? The ability to identify the engagement and, for instance, write it back to OpenSense is very unique to OpenSense. All of us can tell you how many views and how many clicks have happened on a banner, but only OpenSense can say Bobby is the one who clicked on the banner. So that's where contribution comes into play. So again, very solid solution, I would say. YStamp, definitely less expensive, which I think is important. But I think if your needs are slightly more than basic, OpenSense will make a ton of sense. Integrations is another place where I think OpenSense is kind of above and beyond. But great question. Are there any other questions that I can answer for any of you? If not, we'll be following up with the recording if it's valuable to you. We will also, if any of you want to take a little bit of a deeper dive with an account executive here at OpenSense, we're happy to explore that further. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Bobby Narang, and I'm happy to chat. But it means a lot, I think, to take 30 minutes out of your day and provide that attention to OpenSense. So thank you very much for taking that time. Let us know how we can support you moving forward. But great to meet you, and thank you so much for taking the time today.